2007's Bioshock was a smash hit, introducing gamers to the Ayn Rand-inspired underwater dystopia of Rapture. With sales in the millions, it's no surprise that 2K Games would set to work on a sequel, and they'd find a way to kick it up a notch. Bioshock was a tremendous success, so the next game would have to do something big. No, bigger. Bigger! Oh, okay, not that big. There we go. Set nearly 10 years after the original Bioshock, Bioshock 2 reveals more of the story of Rapture's fall, putting you this time in the enormous clanking shoes of a prototype Big Daddy who's just as unaware of what's been happening in the past decade as you are. After offing himself at the request of psychologist Dr. Sophia Lamb, Big Daddy wakes up 10 years later to find the underwater city in ruins, with a cult sprung up around the good doctor. Driven by a link to the little sister he once protected, your character makes his way through Rapture to uncover the mysteries of his, and Rapture's, past. Attempting to stop him from achieving his goals are Lamb's splicers and a new terrifying enemy called the Big Sisters, who are much more agile than the Big Daddies and will make mincemeat out of any Big Daddy to try and take his little sister. The biggest difference between this game and the previous one is something you'll notice immediately. Instead of playing as an amnesiac normal human, you're playing as an amnesiac Big Daddy, albeit a smaller model than those encountered in the previous game. Every step makes a loud, resounding clunk. The edges of the screen show the edge of your helmet's view, and your weapons are appropriately scaled up. Instead of a wrench, you're given a drill, which runs on fuel. The pistol has been replaced with a rivet gun, and the submachine gun from the first game has been replaced with a 50 caliber machine gun. This brings up my first complaint. Though the weapons look different from those in the original Bioshock, they mostly feel the same. The rivet gun deals damage just like the pistol, and the 50 caliber machine gun, which, mind you, is a weapon that planes use to shoot down other planes in real life, is just as wimpy as the SMG. The euphoric high of being a badass Big Daddy is likely to come crashing down after you empty half your clip into a regular splicer and they don't drop. This is also reflected in your health bar. Your character isn't significantly tougher than Jack from Bioshock, and that also detracts from the feelings of power you're supposed to get from wearing the suit. The spear gun, however, is an incredible upgrade from its predecessor, the crossbow, allowing you not only to decapitate or pin enemies with a single shot, but also to retrieve and reuse the ammunition over and over. The importance of being a Big Daddy is reflected in another way, though, specifically the care and feeding of little sisters. As you encounter them in the stages and liberate them from their own Big Daddies, you're given a few more choices than the previous game. While you still have the options of harvesting the little sisters for their atom or freeing them of its curse, you can also choose to have them lead you to splicer bodies loaded with even more of the glowy red stuff. As they drain the carcasses of liquid magic, other splicers in the area are able to detect the little sister's presence, and you must defend her while she gathers. I suppose this could be seen as simple, mindless padding for the game, especially given the need to backtrack through levels to find the little sisters, then the bodies, then to release the sisters, but it's entirely optional and allows you to take the time to buff your character out a little more through the game. Speaking of Adam, the plasmids are back, and just as plentiful as before. The power of lightning, fire, wind, ice, and bees all at your fingertips, with higher upgrade levels than before to make them even more potent. Unfortunately, there aren't many completely new plasmids in the game, which makes it again feel like you're playing Bioshock all over again. One refreshing change of pace is that the original Pipe Dream-inspired hacking minigame has been replaced with a timing one, where you stop a needle moving back and forth. While this is easier than the original game, and never impossible as was sometimes the case then, the downside of the new hacking system is that the action doesn't halt for the hacking. More than a few times I ended up getting shot by a turret while desperately trying to hack it. The other, more significant upshot of this new version of hacking is that a skilled hacker can get a boost by stopping the needle in an even smaller blue area, resulting in free items, improved damage, or extra time from whatever you're hacking. In addition, your new hacking tool has a remote function, allowing you to hack doors, turrets, and cameras from a distance. Like the original Bioshock, the world of Rapture is vividly illustrated with striking visual themes set in a ruined 50s-style architecture that absolutely oozes with ambience. The enemies have been rendered with much more care this time around. Examining a dead splicer, for example, reveals some strange mutations that lead you to wonder about the nature of the plasmids that drove them insane, and how far gone they really are. The level designs are breathtaking, and unless you're backtracking to complete the little sister sections of the game, the view will never get boring. You're taken through a different section of Rapture in this game, and it helps to establish the absolute scale of the city. Rapture is a huge place, and some of the locales, especially the Surface World Museum, are creative and entertaining. This game is also much better about showing you the people you interact with. In the original game, they were rarely more than an old photo or a mangled corpse to you. Now you'll get to see well-modeled bodies before you run a drill through them. There's not much to say about the music in Bioshock 2. There's a soothing ambience with the occasional 50s tunes thrown in to set the mood, and it's done very well, though it's nothing to write home about. The voice acting is done well, as it's the primary vehicle through which the story is told. If you enjoyed the original Bioshock enough to want to play it through twice, then it's fairly likely you'll enjoy its sequel as well. If you didn't enjoy Bioshock, then there's something wrong with your brain and you need professional help. Just don't get it from Sophia Lamb. There's no telling how you'll turn out. In either case, the game feels very much like Bioshock 1, and you have to remember that that's not a bad thing. The original game was gorgeous, enthralling, and a blast to play, and the second one recaptures that feeling quite nicely. Multiplayer is an excellent addition to the series and would be enough on its own to recommend the game to most players, although it is still at a stage where it's prone to bugginess, particularly freezing. Just be thankful you don't have bees like me. Bees? Bees! Bioshock 2 earned my recommendation along with an 8.5 out of 10.